Alright, so what we're going over today is going to be one skill you need to be able to use often for our chemistry unit, which is you have to be able to interpret chemical signals. Okay, so here we have a periodic table. If you have a chance and you can print a periodic table at home, I would highly recommend that, or you could just keep looking it up online. But printing one and having one to often look at, I would do that because you're going to be using this for the rest of the unit. Okay, so what we're doing today is interpret chemical symbols. We're looking at each, basically, we have this periodic table with a bunch of numbers, right? We want to know what do those numbers mean, what do they signify. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. We're going to zoom into carbon. So if I look at carbon, carbon's symbol looks like this, right? So if we look at the top number, that's what I call my atomic number. That is my atomic number. Okay, that's my symbol. That is my element. Okay, that is my chemical element. Fix that. Element. Okay, so here this would be my mass number. This is my mass number. Alright, so that's just labeling. Now, what do each of them signify? Well, my atomic number tells me my number of protons, right? Because if you change the proton, you change the element. Or, it also tells me, or my number of electrons. Okay? Why is that? Because if we remember, protons have a positive charge, electrons have a negative charge. Every element you see in the periodic table is assumed to be a neutral element, meaning that if I have 2 protons, in order to be neutral, I need to have 2 electrons, right? So they're always equal to each other. So my atomic number tells me my protons or my electrons. Okay? All right, let's go into mass number. So what is mass number? Well, what contributes to mass? Only 2 things contribute to mass. Protons contribute to mass, and neutrons. So my mass number tells me my number of protons and neutrons, not or, both of them. Okay. Then the last thing we need to be able to do or know is number of, how do I calculate the number of just neutrons? That's the only one we have to do math. Okay. My number of neutrons is equal to my mass, the bottom number, right? Take away my atomic number. Take away my atomic number. Why? Because, well, if mass is protons and neutrons, and atomic number is protons, well, if I take these away, the protons cancel out, and I'm left with neutrons. Okay? All right, so let's look at carbon. Let's try to figure out how many protons I have, how many electrons do I have, how many neutrons. Okay? Well, protons are told by, I can tell by looking at the top number, so I have 6 protons. Same thing, electrons always equal protons, so that's also 6. Okay. What about my neutrons? Well, for my neutrons, I have to take away this number, take away this. And when we do that, we want to round this number. Okay, so it's going to be 12, take away 6. In this case, they're all going to be 6. So that's not always the case. Okay, we can also include mass. My mass would be 12, right? My bottom number. And my atomic number in this case is always equal to the top would be 6, okay? So these are all the same, but that's not always the case. Let's look at another example. So let's say I have this example here in which I'm looking for protons, electrons, neutrons. Let's go atomic number and mass. All of this, I can get all this information from here. Well, protons are going to equal to my top number, always, right? 34. Well, if I know my protons, I know my electrons, because protons always equal electrons. That's also 34. Atomic number is the same thing as this, because it's always the top number, right? So 34. Mass is, well, if we round this, remember, 5 and above. If this decimal is 5 and above, or this place is 5 and above, you round up. If it's below 5, then you round down. So because it's above 5, it's a 9. We're going to round. It's going to be 79. Okay. Now my neutron is the bottom. My mass take away my atomic. So it's 79, take away 34. That's going to give us 79. You can use a calculator for that. 79, take away 34 will give us 45. 45. Okay, so now you notice that these are not always the same. Okay, let's go on to today's, or rather the worksheet that you're going to be doing. So it's important that you do this worksheet. You can either print it, or you can just write it on a piece of paper. Don't worry too much about filling up this first part, because that's just what we went over. Okay, remember, a top number is atomic number. Atomic number tells us protons or neutrons. Bottom one is the mass number. Okay, element, symbol. Protons or electrons. Don't worry about filling this out, though. This is just, we went over this. It's protons, neutrons. Okay, what you are filling out, though, to do this, you need a periodic table. So I can't just guess for some of these things. I need to look at a periodic table. So for this, I will be looking at a periodic table. So this, well, we know this from the example. This is oxygen, right? Then you would go ahead and fill out the rest. So atomic number, well, that's always my top number. That's 8. Mass number, that's my bottom. I got to round that. That's going to be 16. Protons, it's always the top, right? Protons or electrons are the top. So that's 8. Neutrons are, we'll leave that to last because sometimes you have to do math for that. Electrons are always the same as protons. So these two are always the same. So that's going to give me 8. Last of all, we go to our neutrons. Bottom, take away top. 16, take away 8. This case, it happened to be all of them 8. Not always the case. Okay. Then next, we will just continue until we end up filling up all the blanks. Okay. And if you aren't printing it and you're just copying it, you don't have to write number of protons, number of neutrons. Keep it short. Do something like number of, like I did here, protons, electrons. You don't have to list out the whole thing. You can do just like this, PEN, so it can be a little bit quicker. Okay, so there's 2 pages to this. Remember, you need a periodic table to fill this out. So for example, zinc. I don't know the symbol of zinc if I haven't seen the table. Well, I got to find it here, right? Zinc's a metal, and the metals are located primarily in this location. It's a transition metal. Zinc is Zn. So I would go Zn. I would fill out the rest. Atomic number is the top, right? 30. My mass is, well, this is below, that's below 5. So my mass stays at 65. Okay? And you should be able to go ahead and fill on the rest using the information, which we've gone over here. Okay? I'll put this up for one last time. If you need this as a reference, you can stop the video here and kind of copy that down in your notes. Okay? If you have questions, let me know. This isn't a difficult skill, but it's important that you guys don't try to copy this from someone, but rather really try and work through the problems, because you're going to need this skill for the rest of chemistry. Okay?